They say the Brown University shooter was found dead. Case closed. Story over. But when you look closer at Claudio Valente, something feels off. His profile, his background, even the way the story was wrapped up. It's eerily similar to other so-called lone actors like Luigi Mangione and Tyler Robinson. Different names, different locations, same exact script. But this time, they just took the insanity to a whole new level, and let me tell you why. And we have to start with the most obvious connection between all of these cases. Surveillance tools completely failed to track any of these guys. I'm sure you remember how in both the Luigi Mangione case and the Tyler Robinson case, police initially didn't have clear footage to even identify the shooter. Well, the exact same thing happened after the Brown University shooting. First, we found out that many of the cameras inside this elite university weren't even recording at the time.
We have 1,200 cameras located throughout the campus. We don't publish the locations of the cameras. That would give a map to somebody to evade detection on the cameras. So that would be counterproductive to do that. There are cameras in this building, and as I answered the previous question, we have turned over all evidence that we are holding at Brown to law enforcement and are cooperating fully with them.
Video played a big role in this case. The neighbor's video, the rental car video, but not the video from the building that he walked in freely both before when he got in the confrontation and when he came back in and decided to kill people. You didn't have cameras in that building, just say it, so we could get this over. And my next question, will you put cameras in,
follow-up.
will you put the cameras in that building? Will there be more cameras in that building?
Yeah, you know, I think we need to look back. We'll look at everything that is done, but I do not think a lack of cameras in that building it had anything to do with what happened there. And we will go forward. Thank you.
And if that wasn't bad enough already, none of the cameras outside the campus provided a clear image of the suspect's face for days after the attack. One reason these individuals couldn't be tracked is that they appeared to be well prepared. Just like Luigi and Tyler, Claudio didn't act impulsively. He was planning this for days. In fact, flock license plate cameras captured him 13 days in a row leading up to the shooting. He was even using fake license plates to stay ahead of the police.
Evidence that was observed from outside the car that matched our crime scenes, meaning mask, clothing, satchel, which you can see on that video. And there was a main plate over a Florida plate. This guy was changing plates. One of the reasons it was so hard to find was he knew what he was doing. He was changing plates. And so, that's why the collective work of following and finding this car was made more difficult because this guy was changing plates. So we got a main plate and we got a Florida plate on the same car in New Hampshire.
And yet, despite all that planning, all of these guys made unbelievably stupid mistakes. In fact, none of them had a real escape plan. In Luigi's case, even days after the shooting, he was walking around with enough evidence to put himself in prison for life.
I do. Okay. What's your name? Mark. What is it? Mark. Mark? Yes, sir. Mark what? Bizarre. Sorry, someone called that they thought you were suspicious. Oh, sorry. Do your ID on me? Yeah, yes, sir. Thanks. I thought she looked like someone guilty to.
Tyler Robinson, on the other hand, left the murder weapon behind and then confessed everything via text messages to his boyfriend, even though they lived together.
Robinson, I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. Roommate, how long have you been planning this? Robinson, a bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. Robinson again, I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. IDEK, if it's had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with.
And Claudio's ending might be the strangest of all. He managed to evade arrest for days, only to off himself inside of a storage unit.
Those firearms were found at the deceased body, not in a car. So he killed himself inside the storage unit, and the firearms were found at his in the area of his thigh and in the area of his feet.
What's also interesting is how each of these men was ultimately caught. Luigi was spotted by a random customer at a McDonald's.
I have a customer here that some other customers were suspicious of, that he looked like the CEO shooter from New York.
Mangione's distinctive eyebrows giving him away, despite the beanie and mask.
Tyler Robinson was pressured into surrendering by his own family, the same family that is now trying to keep him out of jail. And Claudio, he was identified because a homeless man recognized his vehicle, posted about it on Reddit, and was told by users to take the information to the police.
Opened by a homeless man who goes by John. Now, investigators say that he's a former Brown University student who grew suspicious of the gunman when he locked eyes with him in the bathroom just 2 hours before the shooting inside the Barris and Holly building. The gunman, his name is Claudio Neves Valente. Now, John, pictured here, is the man police were looking to speak to because of how close he got to that gunman. John said he followed Neves Valente out of the building before the shooting and played a game of cat and mouse in the neighborhood. Surveillance video shows Neves Valente running away from John. At one point, he stood just feet away from the gunman and questioned why he was circling the block. The gunman repeatedly responded, quote, "Why are you harassing me?"
And here's the part that should bother everyone. That homeless man was living on the Brown University campus, which raises serious questions about how little security exists at an institution like this. But this is where the Brown University case gets even stranger. As you probably know, Claudio didn't just attack random students. He also assassinated a prominent MIT professor, a man he had studied with in Portugal more than 25 years ago.
The car that he had used to not only drive to Rhode Island, but then back to Boston. And then there was the security footage that captured him within a half mile of the professor's residence in Brookline. And there is a video footage of him entering an apartment building in the location of the professor's apartment. And then later that evening, he is seen about an hour later entering the storage unit wearing the same clothes that he had been seen wearing right after the murder.
He was a physics professor out of MIT and in the physics building, and he was studying physics. Have you tied all that up, and does that lead, why target one person in Massachusetts and then a whole class here in Providence?
Yes, it is true that Mr. Valente was a physics student. Also, we know that the MIT, the victim there, was in that discipline as well.
There are some witnesses who said he said nothing. There are some that say he made a barking noise. Don't ask me. I don't know why. And that's it. There is no other spoken word beyond that we are aware of.
To this day, the FBI has not explained why Claudio targeted 2 undergraduate students at Brown and then went on to kill a professor from his past. Some people say he simply lost his mind, but that explanation doesn't really hold up. His actions show planning, patience, and intent, and it increasingly looks like the professor may have been the real target. This wasn't just any academic. He was a nuclear physicist working on cutting-edge fusion technology. He also served on the board of Fusion Power Associates alongside the CEO of TAE Technologies. Are you listening? Because here's where things get even more bizarre. In a deal that barely got any attention, Trump Media Group recently merged with TAE Technologies, a fusion power company with no past in the media space.
Nuclear fusion has always been there. It really is the holy grail. It's like the sun.
Right.
But we haven't been able to harness that yet. It just hasn't, the technology, the science. But that's the difference between TAE and all the other nuclear companies out there around the world. This is the one that won't rely on rare earth elements, won't have to rely on a bunch of magnets, and it's the only company that's actually built something. That's what we were most impressed with, was not just all the scientists and all the engineers that had worked with private funding, all private funding, I must say. And now what they're looking to do is they need a way to get in and access the public markets. We provide that opportunity for them to access the public markets.
It also doesn't help that TAE Technologies has had documented ties to the Russian government. Of course, now people are asking an uncomfortable question. Was this just a random act of violence or an international hit, a targeted killing wrapped inside chaos? And if that's even remotely possible, it would explain why the FBI once again looked completely unprepared, slow, and strangely ineffective.
You'll continue to walk here and look for evidence. That's a good job. You can see them that they're kicking the snow out of the way, methodically looking step by step, looking to see if there's anything in the snow at all that can help point them in the right direction in this investigation.
But I think here you also have to ask yourself, could this be another attempt to distract us? At a moment when Venezuela, Epstein, and other explosive stories were starting to resurface, the country suddenly became consumed by a shocking crime spree. Endless coverage, endless fear, endless confusion. And then, just like that, the one person who could answer the hardest questions was gone.
We got a state arrest warrant for murder today that was signed by a district court judge for this individual. There won't be a prosecution now, of course, but that affidavit is on our website, and you will be able to see more and read more about how this investigation unfolded. I won't get you all the way there because there are some things that happened afterwards which led us to this suspect's body in New Hampshire.
No trial, no testimony, no closure, just a narrative that conveniently ends where it's supposed to. It simply doesn't feel random. It feels useful. And when something this horrific turns out to be useful to powerful people, that's when you should really start paying attention.